Hello, this is Dazzling One, and this week's discussion is on a little demonology as well as the message that I picked up from the movie Split. So I'll start with Split, actually. So it's been out for a while, but I finally got around to seeing it, and I have to say that I was looking for the parallels between how they would portray DID, dissociative identity disorder, and demonic possession. Of course, they try to pass it off as a simple mental abnormality, and one thing I just found interesting throughout the film is that I couldn't stop thinking about MKUltra. The caretaker of the main character with this disorder who kidnapped the three girls, she reminded me more of a handler than anything else. And something interesting about all of that is, with Fritz Springmeier's work, he talks about MKUltra and the Satanism and the altars that people develop from this severe abuse that they go through, the satanic ritual abuse. So I definitely felt there were parallels there. Now, his DID, I believe, was the source of his abusive mother, and he had over 23 personalities, and we later learned he had a 24th. The Beast, which you have to say that to incorporate the Beast in there was interesting. Now, they wrote off at the end whenever he was climbing on the ceiling and running and eating people, cannibalizing them pretty much, like a demoniac from the Bible or Legion. They wrote it off as him taking on the personalities of the animals, because we learned at the end of the movie that he was keeping his victims under a zoo, which was quite a plot twist. And the interesting thing I found about this, and I have to do more research into this, I actually am planning on doing a little more research into abnormal psychology. As you know, I'm a skeptic of it, as modern psychology comes to explain things away. I hold to the spiritual explanations of all of this, but I also, at the same time, don't always write everything off as, oh, it's demons, or, oh, it's evil spirits causing this. Sometimes there are medical conditions that cause it, but something interesting that they mentioned in the film, and I don't know how accurate this is, they talked about how some of the people who had DID, biochemistry changed. When they change personalities, they actually may be allergic to something that they aren't allergic to when they have this alter ego or alter personality. And it just really makes me think about the spirits and just all of the research I've been doing on spiritual warfare, on demonology. I know that demons have their own field of energy. Just like we have auras, they also influence people, and I believe that a lot of the electric activity that goes on in people's brains who experience oppression is caused by demons in their field. And this kind of leads me into my other topic. I was looking for some books that I could read to enhance my knowledge on these subject matters as well as future videos, because I feel like for the last few months I haven't had time to really sit down and do a lot of research, and it seems like I keep hitting the same dead ends when it comes to information by just looking on the internet. So now I'm actually looking for literature, and I see some of you guys suggesting certain books that I should check out. So if you have any forms of literature that you think would be good for me to read, just tell me the title and name of the book and I'll look into it, because I really do want to give you guys new information on things. I don't just want to keep beating a dead horse and repeating myself over and over. And while it's good to go over news stories and over what's happening, I also want to bring new knowledge to the table. And so it's much easier if I can just order books or download a PDF or ebook and read it on my free time and gather information from there. But something that I came across, and actually I discovered a channel, Simona Rich. I saw one of her videos and I heard part of her testimony in it, and I went to look for her ebook that she put out on psychology, because I'm interested in knowing about the darker side of it. And I know that Freud was a controversial figure, and now I'm learning more about Jung as well. But she also had a translated version of the King James Demonology book, and that was interesting because I came across learning about it not too long before I discovered she had done an ebook on it. So I've been checking out some of that, and something interesting that I wanted to note from that book was he mentioned 4 categories of spirits, and this was based on the methods they used to torment an individual. So the first he named was Spectra, which also had the name of Lumeres or Umbra Matorum, and interestingly enough, Umbra Matorum means shadows of the dead, and so what's interesting about that is that could fit in very well with shadow people, but these spirits like to impersonate the deceased, so they're pretty much familiar spirits that pretend to be ghosts. And these spirits trouble houses or solitary places, so these types of demons are responsible for hauntings, whether it's a haunted house. I call these territorial spirits as well, or familiar spirits. They're responsible for being in places, and I would even say, I don't know if this fits there, but I'm going to add my own theory here. I also believe these may be the category of demons that are also the ones that inhabit quote-unquote cursed objects. The second category he named was obsession, and he used this to describe spirits that follow upon certain people to outwardly trouble them at various times of the day, and he referenced Incubus and Succubus. And this is interesting because on this channel, since day one, and thank you guys again. My 3-year mark came up on the 26th, so I'm just thankful that for all of your support continually over the years. Incubus and Succubuses, as you well know, are the spirits that come at night, the night hag, spirit husband, spirit wives, marine spirits, all of that ties in spirit spouses to this incubus succubus phenomenon. But these are also spirits that I believe just oppress people throughout the day. Strongholds, the fiery darts of Satan that's mentioned in the New Testament. And even in Psalms 91, when it talks about the arrow that flieth by day, whenever I would read that, I would be like, well, I know that back then people would fight using arrows, so I didn't give much thought to it. But I actually came across a interesting blog post by someone, I can't remember who it is, but they were talking about how the fiery darts of Satan can actually be the mental strongholds that we're attacked with. And so when I thought about that, I connected it back to Psalms 91 because I keep that scripture in mind always because it's always resonated. These spirits in the obsession category oppress the individual, and I believe that most people who deal with mental illness actually are being oppressed by the spirits. I don't think most are possessed yet. However, in the cases like the character from Split, he obviously was dealing with demonic possession because, I'm sorry, but I watched the last 2 episodes of The Exorcist TV show because that's how far behind I am on the DVR. I'm just now catching up to shows that I've taped on from the fall season, and when I saw the way that these possessed individuals behaved and the way this guy behaved on Split, it was pretty identical. Now, I know that Hollywood sensationalizes demonic possession, and they also sensationalize mental illness, which is a horrible thing for people that struggle with either one. But the resemblance of the way these two were portrayed was uncanny. And I also found it interesting on both. There was this message that the people who had the split personalities, or who were, in my opinion, demon-possessed, were special, and they were more deserving than the people that hadn't suffered or who didn't have to suffer from this fragmented personality. And of course, the beast had shown him everything, and the beast, as we know, is Satan. And on The Exorcist, you had these fallen angels, which they conflated fallen angels with demons, and in my opinion, from research, fallen angels and demons are 2 separate classes of spirits. These fallen angels wanted to take the planet over for themselves. And something that really stuck out to me when I was watching it was the demons said that they fell and there was no forgiveness for them, yet God creates this paradise for mankind to enjoy the pleasures of their flesh. And when I heard that, I was just blown away, because I think about how when you read about the Watchers in Genesis 6:4 and how they fell, some people say that when they were watching over mankind, they fell prey to a lot of the same temptations that mankind had. And this is one of the reasons they chose to go down and take wives. And so I find it interesting that they reference this, and I know that when demons possess people, because they are disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, that they choose to act out their pleasures through that person. And the next category that King James mentioned was possession, which is just what I was talking about. And this is used to describe spirits that enter inwardly into a person to trouble them. And then fairies or vulgari, and this was used to describe illusionary spirits that prophesy, consort, and transport their servants. And it was his take that people weren't actually leaving their bodies with other witches and going places, but the spirits were giving them the illusion that they were actually going and doing these acts when really they were probably just in the astral plane. Those are the 4 classes that he mentioned, and I just wanted to throw it out there for all of you. But I think what I'm going to start doing, since I'm getting into reading more books on these topics as well as general conspiracies, I'm not going to get off that topic either, is I'm going to start maybe naming this one Demonology Part 1, and I'll just add on to the parts from there. And also, let me know what other literature or websites or sources that I can go to. And this is long overdue, but I do need to make a recommendation video for some channels that I enjoy watching, because I have discovered some really new channels that don't get any attention. So I'll be sure in the future to make a video of channels that are recommended, and also send me suggestions as well, because sometimes I stay too much in one sphere of YouTube, and I'd like to know about other channels covering topics that may be beneficial. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and Yahweh bless you.